SQL Programming Knowledge. Upon completion of this course you will know the general rules of SQL syntax, operators, SQL functions, SQL clauses, different types of SQL joins, basic SQL commands, the difference between tables and views, SQL security commands, different types of indexes, different types of SQL syntax errors, different types of set commands, dynamic uses of SQL skills. Upon completion of this course, you will know build a block of data retrieval, change the order of a column, indent code, execute join with SQL clauses, execute embedded, select statements with nested queries, execute insert, update, and select statements, create views, create indexes on SQL tables, control transactions. Knowledge. Upon completion of today's session you will know the general rules of SQL syntax, know the operators, be familiar with SQL functions skill. Upon completion of today's session, a student will be able to build a block of data retrieval, change the order of a column, indent code, introduction to query, expressions, and types of SQL commands. SQL is standard language for accessing and manipulating databases. It stands for Structured Query Language. SQL is an ANSI, American National Standards Institute, standard. SQL can execute queries against a database. SQL can retrieve data from a database. SQL can insert records in a database. SQL can update records in a database. SQL can delete records from a database. SQL can create new databases. SQL can create new tables in a database. SQL can create stored procedures in a database. SQL can create views in a database. SQL can set permissions on tables, procedures, and views. Download Microsoft SQL Server from Microsoft website. Microsoft SQL Server has free editions called Express editions. Some downloads of SQL Server have Management Studio contained within it. If you already have SQL Server installed, you need to find and download only SQL Server Management Studio. SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, is an integrated environment for accessing, configuring, managing, administering, and developing all components of SQL Server. SSMS combines a broad group of graphical tools with a number of rich script editors to provide developers and administrators of all skill levels access to SQL Server. This release features improved compatibility with previous versions of SQL Server, a standalone web installer, and toast notifications within SSMS when new releases become available. Provide settings that you chose at installation like server name and password to connect to SQL Server. If it is already running, get these from your administrator. A database can be created, altered, and dropped. 1 GUI, Graphical User Interface, graphically using SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, or 2. T-SQL, using a query to create the database graphically. 1. Right-click on Databases folder in the Object Explorer. 2. Select New Database. 3. In the New Database dialog box, enter the database name, for example DB1, and click OK. To create the database using a query, create database name. To alter a database, once it's created, alter database name, modify name equals new database name. To delete or drop a database, drop database that you want to drop. The database itself, the transaction log, contains a log of all work done with database and by who. Tables contain that actual data in form of rows. Indexes contain rules about how data will be stored. And file groups, primary and secondary file groups. A primary file group contains the primary data file, MDF, and possibly secondary data files, NDF. All system tables are allocated to the primary file group. A secondary file group, also called a user-defined file group, contains secondary data files, NDF, and database objects. Diagrams, shows how tables are linked together. Views, show set of information retrieved by a query, read-only mostly, stored procedures, functions stored within SQL Server to perform different tasks. User-defined functions, any functions defined by user to perform various tasks. Users, people who will use database information. Roles, types of users like entry, maintenance reports, set of information generated. User-defined data types created as needed in addition to built-in data types. 1.ddl. DDL is abbreviation of Data Definition Language. It is used to create and modify the structure of database objects in database. Examples, create, alter, drop statements. 2.dml. DML is abbreviation of Data Manipulation Language. It is used to retrieve, store, modify, delete, insert and update data in database. Examples, select, update, insert statements. 3.dcl. DCL is abbreviation of Data Control Language. It is used to create roles, permissions, and referential integrity as well. It is used to control access to database by securing it. Examples, grant, revoke statements. 4.tcl. TCL is abbreviation of Transactional Control Language. It is used to manage different transactions occurring within a database. Examples: commit, rollback statements. Introduction to DDL. DDL stands for Data Definition Language. It is a language used for defining and modifying the data and its structure. It is used to build and modify the structure of your tables and other objects in the database. DDL commands are as follows: 1. Create 2. Drop 3. Alter 4. Rename 5. Truncate. These commands can be used to add, remove, or modify tables within a database. Create is used to create the database or its objects, like table, index, function, views, store procedure, and triggers. Drop is used to delete objects from the database. Alter is used to alter the structure of the database. Truncate is used to remove all records from a table, including all spaces allocated for the records are removed. Comment is used to add comments to the data dictionary. Rename is used to rename an object existing in the database. Exact numeric data types: int, integer data type for whole numbers. Small int, smaller integer data type. Tiny, very small integer data type. Big int, large integer data type. Numeric, p, s fixed point numeric data type with a specified precision, p, and scale, s, decimal, p, s. Same as numeric, used for fixed point numbers. Bit represents Boolean values, 0 or 1, money and small money, monetary values. Approximate numeric data types: float, approximate numeric data type for floating point numbers. Real, smaller version of float. Character string data types: char, and fixed length character strings varchar, and variable length character strings with a maximum length, and text, variable length character strings for large amounts of text. 4 Unicode character string data types: char, and fixed length Unicode character strings, and varchar, and variable length Unicode character strings with a maximum length, and text, variable length Unicode character strings for large amounts of text. 5 Binary data types: binary, and fixed length binary data, binary, and variable length binary data with a maximum length, and image, variable length binary data for large amounts of binary data. 6 Date and time data types: date and time values with fractional seconds accuracy. Date values without time. Time values without date. Date time 2, date and time values with higher fractional seconds accuracy. Small time, date and time values with reduced fractional seconds accuracy. To create TBL person table, graphically, 1. Right-click on Tables folder in Object Explorer window. 2. Select New Table. 3. Fill column name, data type, and allow nulls, as shown below, and save the table as TBL person. The following statement creates TBL gender table with ID and gender columns. ID column is the primary key column. The primary key is used to uniquely identify each row in a table. Primary key does not allow nulls. Create table TBL gender, ID int not null primary key, gender and varchar, 50, select. This command is used to retrieve information from a table. 2. Insert. This command is used to add information to a table. 3. Update. This command is used to modify information to a table. 4. Delete. This command is used to remove information from a table. What is the difference between delete and truncate? 1. Delete and truncate commands remove data from existent tables in a database without harming the table structure or other references to the table. 2. However, delete command can be used to delete specific rows only in a table using a relevant condition, or to delete all the rows without any condition, while the truncate command can be used only for deleting entire data in the table. 3. Delete is a DML command, and it can roll back the operation if necessary, but truncate is a DDL command, so it is an auto-commit statement and cannot be rolled back in any way. So it is important to use this command carefully in database management. 4. Truncate operation consumes fewer system resources and transaction log resources than the delete operation, therefore, truncate is considered as faster than delete. 5. Also, delete does not deallocate space used by the table, whereas truncate frees the space used after execution, so delete is not efficient in case of deleting the entire data from a database table. 6. However, truncate is not allowed to use when the table is referenced by a foreign key constraint, and in that case, the delete command can be used instead of truncate. 7. Finally, both of these commands have advantages and also disadvantages in applying them in database management systems, and the user should be aware of using these commands appropriately to achieve good results. Equal, equals. Not equal, equals or note, to see the line numbers, tools options, text editor all languages general check line numbers OK. Note, if you want to do any changes but you are not allowed you can. Tools options, designers uncheck prevent saving changes that require table recreation. Database. Create database. Method number 1. You can create a database by using GUI, graphical user interface. Object Explorer databases right click new database type a name OK. Method number 2. You can create a database by using T-SQL. Click on the new query icon, then write the following commands, highlight them and press F5 or press execute button. Create database test1 in SQL is optional. Create database DB2. Create database DB3. Alter database DB3, modify name DB3_test. Drop database DB2. Note, if you want to see this new database, go to the Object Explorer window, select Databases, and then press refresh icon. New version of SQL is not case sensitive for syntax and names of tables and databases and columns. It is case sensitive just for values inside tables. Create database DB Merriam. Go is optional, and you can use it at the end of each batch to separate batches. Drop/delete database. Method number 1. By using GUI, Object Explorer expand databases choose the name of database that you want to delete, then RC on it delete OK. Method #2 by using T-SQL. Drop database test1. Go. X. Create a new database called GNU. Create database GNU. Go. Change name of database. Change name of GNU to GNU2 or GNU2 to GNU3. Method number 1. By using GUI, in Object Explorer RC on GNU and select rename, then type GNU2. Method number 2. By using T-SQL. Alter database GNU, modify name GNU1. X. Drop GNU1 by using T-SQL. Drop database GNU1. X. Again create a new database called test1. Create database test1. Change working database. Change your working database from master to test1. Method #1 GUI. Above Object Explorer you can see the master, press arrow and then select test1. Method #2 T-SQL. Create database MYDB. Use MYDB. Types of SQL commands. SQL DML, DDL, DCL, and TCL commands. 1. SQL DDL commands. In SQL, DDL means data definition language. The SQL Server DDL commands are used to create and modify the structure of a database and database objects like tables, views, procedures. Examples of SQL Server DDL commands are create an object. Create a database, table, triggers, index, functions, stored procedures, etc. Drop. This SQL DDL command helps to delete objects. For example, delete tables, delete a database, etc. Alter. Used to alter the existing database or its object structures. Truncate. This SQL DDL command removes records from tables. Rename. Renaming the database objects. 2. SQL DML commands. DML means data manipulation language in SQL Server. As its name suggests, these SQL Server DML commands will perform data manipulation, manipulate data presented in the server. Examples of DML commands in SQL Server are select. This SQL DML command selects records or data from a table. Insert. Insert data into a database table. Update. This SQL DML command will update existing records within a table. Delete. Delete unwanted records from a table. Difference between delete and truncate. Delete. Delete is a DML, data manipulation language, command. It is used to remove specific rows from a table based on a condition you provide. You can use delete with a where clause to specify which rows to delete. Truncate is a DDL, data definition language, command. It is used to remove all the rows from a table quickly, effectively resetting the table. Truncate doesn't use a where clause because it removes all rows by default. 3. SQL DCL commands. The SQL Server DCL means data control language. These DCL commands in SQL Server will control the data access permission. SQL Server DCL commands examples are: grant, it permits users to access the database. Revoke, this SQL DCL command withdraws the permission given by grant to access the database. 4. SQL TCL commands. TCL means Transaction Control Language. These SQL Server TCL commands will control the transactions. Examples of TCL commands in SQL Server are: commit, this SQL TCL command will commit the running transaction. Rollback, undo the current transaction. Save point, you can set a save point so that next time it will start from that point. Set transaction, specify the characteristics of the transactions. Create table. Method #1 using GUI, Object Explorer == choose the name of the database that you want to create a table. Inside it == expand it by press +sign == r.c on tables == new table. Type column name, data type, and check or uncheck allow nulls and continue for all columns. After that Ctrl+S to save it and name table, then refresh Object Explorer and follow the slides. Page 26. Make sure you assign same data type for gender ID in tBlock person and ID in tBL gender. Go. Alter table tBlock person. Add constraint FK_tBlock person _tBlock gender foreign key, gender it, references tBlock gender, ID. Go. For insert data by using GUI. RC, right click, on table from Object Explorer select edit top 200 rows. For print data. RC, right click, on table from Object Explorer select top 1000 rows. Method #2, using T-SQL. Retrieve data, for printing all records in tBL person. Select asterisk from tBL person asterisk means all columns. Or select asterisk from tBL person. Or select asterisk from dbo.tbl person. 0R. Select asterisk from dbo.tbl person. Select top 3 asterisk from tBL person. Go. Note, if you want to just print some particular columns, you should specify the name of those columns. 1 column. X. Retrieve name of people in tBlock person. Select name from tBL person. X. Retrieve name and email of people in tBlock person. More than column, use, between name of columns. Select name, email from tBL person. Alias, SQL aliases are used to give a table, or a column in a table, a temporary name. Select name as name _of people from tBL person as is optional and name _of people as alias. Or select name _of people from tBL person. Or select name _of people from tBL person. If you want to use space in name, you have to use square brackets. Select name of people from tBL person. Select name as name of student, email as email of student from tBL person. Or select name of student, email of student from tBL person. Go. Note, if you want to do any changes but you are not allowed, you can. Tools options designers uncheck prevent saving changes that require table recreation. Use. Creating tables by using T-SQL. Create table tBL person 1. ID int not null. Name and varchar 50 not null. Name and varchar 50. Go. Insert data, rows, records, observations. Note, for categorical columns, you must wrap their values inside single quotes. Note, in SQL you must wrap characters by using single quotation marks, not double quotation marks. Inserting one record. Insert into tBL person 1 values. 1. Mariam, Kazemi. Inserting more than one record. You can use the insert command for each record or use one insert command for all of them. If you use one insert for several records, you should wrap each record in parentheses and separate records by comma. Insert into tBL person 1 values. 2. Adil, Fajri. 3. Bakatar, Dhaliwal. 4. Gurdeep, Sandhu. Retrieve data. Select asterisk from tBL person 1. Go. Primary key. Primary key. The primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record in a table. 1 dot has to be unique and 2 dot not empty, not null. Primary keys must contain unique values, and cannot contain null values. 3 dot a table can have at most only one primary key, and in the table. This primary key can consist of single or multiple columns, fields. Note, we can assign PK to one table during the creation of that table or after creating it, but be careful after creating and inserting some records, you cannot assign PK to the column that has duplicated values or has missing values because of primary key. 1 dot has to be unique and 2 dot not empty, not null. Create a primary key for existing table. Assigning PK to existing table. Method #1, GUI, RC on that table from Object Explorer = design =. The left side of that column you can set PK or remove PK. Note, make sure that column doesn't have duplicated values or missing values. Note, if you want to do any changes but you are not allowed you can. Tools == options == designers == prevent saving changes that require table recreation. Method #2, T-SQL. Alter table tBlockPerson1. Add primary key, ID. Note, if you use the alter table statement to add a primary key, the primary key column, S, must already have been declared to not contain null values, when the table was first created, and it must have unique values. Note, I will tell you how to assign a specific name to PK. In this example the name of PK was assigned by SQL and you can find it in Object Explorer by finding the name of the table then expand the keys. Drop PK by using T-SQL. Alter table tBlockPerson1. Drop constraint PK __TBL perso __ 3214 EC27 B671 F31. You should drag and drop the name of P.K here from Object Explorer. You can find the name of PK by Object Explorer == expand the table == expand keys. Or you can name your PK when you add it in the alter command. Assign a specific name for the primary key constraint. Alter table tBLPerson1. Add constraint PK _tBlockPerson _ID primary key, ID, PK _tBlockPerson _ID is the name that I wanted to assign to PK. Drop PK by using T-SQL. Alter table tBlockPerson1. Drop constraint PK _tBlockPerson _ID. Assign a name for primary key constraint, and defining a primary key constraint on multiple columns. Alter table tBLPerson1. Add constraint PK _tBlockPerson _ID _an _name primary key, ID fname. I used constraint PK _tBlockPerson _ID _an _name before primary key keyword to assign a name to my primary key. PK _tBlockPerson _ID _an _name is the name of PK. Alter table tBLPerson1. Drop constraint PK _tBlockPerson _ID _an _name. Assigning PK during creation of table. Create table tBL gender 2. ID int not null primary key. Not null is optional because PK by default can't be null. Gender and varchar, 20. Create table tBL gender 3. ID int primary key. Not null is optional because PK by default can't be null. Gender and varchar, 20. In 2 above example the name of PK were assigned by SQL. If you want to assign specific name you should do similar to code below. Create table tBlockGender _4. ID int not null. Gender and varchar, 20. Constraint PK _tBlockGender _4 ID primary key, ID. Create table employee. ID int not null. Employee _name varchar, 255, not null. Employee _designation varchar, 255. Employee _age int. Unique, ID. Select asterisk from employee. Drop the table. Method number 1, using GUI. Method #2 using T-SQL. Drop table tBL gender 3. Select asterisk from tBL gender 3. You will get an error because tBL gender 3 does not exist anymore. Go. Note, in T_SQL there is a difference between deleting a table and dropping a table. When you delete a table by T-SQL, delete statement, you just remove all records of that table. Not the structure of the table, you just making that table empty. but by dropping a table you remove that table object and all its records from the database. Delete table person. Select asterisk from table person. Drop table table person. Select asterisk from table person. You will get an error because that table person is not exist anymore. Create table table person. ID int not null primary key. Not null is optional according to the SQL specification. A primary key cannot contain null. This means that decorating a column with either not null primary key or just primary key should do the same thing. Name and varchar, 50. Email and varchar, 50. Gender int. If you want to refer this gender to ID in tblogender, FK, you must use the same data type. Drop table person. Drop table table person. Assigning a name to the primary key during the creation of the table. Note, the name of PK is a random name that SQL was created for it. If you want to assign any name you should do like following code. Create table table person. ID int not null. Not null is optional. According to the SQL specification, a primary key cannot contain null. This means that decorating a column with either not null primary key or just primary key should do the same thing. Name and varchar, 50. Email and varchar, 50. Gender int. Constraint PK underscore table person underscore ID primary key, ID. Go. Create a database and name it des2. Create database des2. Used des2. Please take a look to page 26 in slides of lecture 1. Create table table person. ID int, not null is optional. According to the SQL specification, a primary key cannot contain null. This means that decorating a column with either not null primary key or just primary key should do the same thing. Name and varchar, 50. Email and varchar, 50. Gender int. If you want to refer this gender to ID in tblogender, FK, you must use the same data type. Constraint PK underscore table person underscore ID primary key, ID. Create table TBL gender. ID int not null primary key. Gender and varchar, 20. A foreign key. A foreign key is a column or group of columns in a relational database table that provides a link between data in two tables. A foreign key is a field, or collection of fields, in one table that refers to another column, usually primary key, in another table. The table containing the foreign key is called the child table, and the table containing the candidate key is called the referenced or parent table. A foreign key can refer to either a unique or a primary key of the parent table. If the foreign key refers to a non-primary unique key, you must specify the column names of the key explicitly. FK, VS, PK. Primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record in a table like student ID. Its values must be unique and cannot be missing. A foreign key is a field, or collection of fields, in one table that refers to another column, usually primary key, in another table. Unlike PK we can have more than one FK. Unlike PK, FK can have missing values. Unlike PK, FK can have duplicated values. Assigning FK to an existing table. Assigning FK to gender it in tblogperson refer it to ID in tblogender. Object Explorer tblogender keys. For viewing dependency. Object Explorer tblogender rc view dependencies. For creating database diagram. Object Explorer expand s2 database diagrams r.c new database diagram. Press Ctrl and select two tables add. Like PK. If you remove constraint FK underscore tblogperson underscore tblogender SQL will assign a random name for FK. Alter table tblogperson. Add foreign key, gendered, references tblogender, ID. Assigning FK during creation of table. Assigning FK to gender code in tblogperson to refer it to ID in tblogender. Method #1 allowing SQL to select a random name. Create table tblogperson 3. ID int primary key. Name and varchar, 50. Email and varchar, 50. Gender int references tblogender, ID. Here SQL will assign names for PK and FK. Method #2 assigning a specific name to f.k or p.k. Create table tblogperson 4. ID int not null. Name and varchar, 50. Email and varchar, 50. Gendered int. Constraint pk underscore tbl person for primary key, ID. Constraint fk underscore tbl person for underscore tbl gender underscore ID foreign key, gendered, references tbl gender, ID. Go. Interview question, what are the differences between pk and fk? The primary key constraint uniquely identifies each record in a table. Primary key has to be unique and not empty, not null, and a table can have at most only one primary key. And in the table, this primary key can consist of single or multiple columns, fields. A foreign key is a field, or collection of fields, in one table refers to another column, usually primary key, in another table, and unlike pk it can be null and have duplicated values, and we can have several fk's in one table. The table containing the foreign key is called the child table, and the table containing the candidate key is called the referenced or parent table. Insert data to table. Insert into TBL gender values. 1. Male, comma, 2. Female, comma, 3. Unknown. Insert into TBL person 3 values. 1. Mariam Kazemi at yahoo.com 2. 2. Mary, M at Nkaleg 3. Select. Select asterisk from TBL person 3 asterisk means all columns. Select asterisk from TBL gender. Select name from TBL person 3. Select name as first name from TBL person 3 as is optional. Select name first name from TBL person 3. Select name email from TBL person 3 you have to put, between columns name. Select name first name email personal underscore email from TBL person 3. Select name full name email personal email from TBL person 3 use hard bracket if you want to have space or special characters. Select asterisk from TBL gender. Delete. Delete contents of a table equals make a table empty not drop that table. Delete TBL person. Select asterisk from TBL person. Insert into TBL person values. 1. Mariam Kazemi at yahoo.com 2. 2. Mary, M at Nkaleg 3. Select asterisk from TBL person 3 remind me to show dependency diagram. The following example creates a table named T1. Then the second statement drops the table. The third statement performs no action because the table is already deleted, however it does not cause an error. Used test 1. Go. Create table T1, col1 int. Go. Drop table T1. Drop table T1 since T1 was dropped we got an error because it does not exist anymore. Go. Drop table if exists T1, if exists does not work in some version of SQL.